The AFE Magnum Force Stage 2 Pro 5R intake here should appeal to the 2017 through 2020 EcoBoost owners who are looking for a premium intake to help deliver more power, more sound, and better throttle response by increasing the airflow by nearly 70% over the factory airbox you will be replacing. Now the Pro 5R here will certainly not be the cheapest option in the category at nearly $500, but will offer an extremely nice build quality along with quality components, and in return are going to deliver a lifetime warranty. Advanced Flow Engineering, or AFE for short, are one of the companies out there really continuing to raise the bar when it comes to designing and building aftermarket parts for the truck aftermarket and other applications as well. Now, as the name suggests, they really do specialize in things that flow, right? So obviously intakes here, but also things like downpipes, exhaust systems, and intercoolers are also some of the areas they specialize in. And best of all of their stuff is built very well right here in the USA. But let's take a closer look at the Stage 2 Pro 5R that we have on the table here, and the unique feature with this system compared to other offerings from not only AFE but other intake systems in general will be the dual 3-inch mandrel bent equal length aluminum tubing, which is going to be finished off in that black powder coat. Now most of your other options on the site or in the category will typically merge these two pipes together to create one large singular intake tube, but as you can see, AFE has opted to keep things separate, and it certainly does provide a pretty cool look. Now again, those large tubes are finished off in more of a wrinkled black powder coat, I would say. Should flow very nicely in the engine bay, but you can always check out some of AFE's other finish options as well. But aside from the separate intake tubes here with the Pro 5R, they've also delivered two slightly smaller 7-inch filters as opposed to one larger filter. Again, a unique feature here with the AFE system. Now these guys are a reusable oiled filter, meaning you can clean them, re-oil them, throw them back on, and they're good to go. But if you guys did prefer a dry filter for whatever reason, AFE does have an option that you can grab here on the site if you're interested. Now altogether guys, AFE claims that their Stage 2 Pro 5R system will boost airflow to your EcoBoost power plant by roughly 67% when compared to the factory airbox that you are replacing. Now that should result in a nice little bump in power, but also things like increased throttle response as well. AFE doesn't give us any exact numbers here in regards to overall horsepower or torque gains, but judging by the very favorable customer reviews on this particular system, the old butt dyno has measured some pretty solid gains. So as always, feel free to read up on those customer reviews if you haven't already done so. Another cool thing to point out is that because these twin 7-inch filters here are not going to be housed in a sealed enclosure, you are going to hear a little bit more noise once the AFE system has been installed. Things like a little bit more turbo spooling, maybe even a little bit more bypass or blow-off valve noise. Certainly stuff that I find enjoyable. If not, if you prefer to keep things a little bit more quiet, you might want to pick up a sealed enclosure instead. Let's switch our focus over to the install, and the site's going to correctly peg this one at a pretty mundane 1 out of 3 wrenches on the old difficulty meter and call it about an hour or so to complete from start to finish. But to give you a better idea of just how this job will go down on your EcoBoost at home, here's an American Trucks customer to walk you through the job.
I wanted to show you the tools that I use today. First one is a pretty standard flathead screwdriver, and the other one is a 8mm socket on a ratchet.
All right, so we're going to install a AFE cold air intake Stage 2 on a 2018 Ford F-150 3.5 EcoBoost. To start, we're going to go ahead and remove the existing assembly. We're going to take these 2 clamps off at the top and the bottom, as well as remove this sensor port. We'll go ahead and get started. Put the camera up. All right. So we're going to use a 7mm ratchet to loosen these. There's 1 and 2. All right, and push the button on the back and pop it out. That's the clip. And with everything removed, pop these off here, and we should be able to just lift the whole assembly right off. There it is. All right. Also take the air filter out, and let's go in the garage. So the next thing we have to do is we have to take the existing sensor out here. What we need to do is we need to turn a quarter turn and then very carefully pull out. Be careful not to mess with that tip. So we're gonna go ahead and install the sensor into the existing hole on the new pipe and turn to lock in place. All right, next up on the instructions, we need to take this weather stripping. We need to just install it on the outside. This is gonna serve as a barrier for like weather. It'll seal against the hood of the truck when everything's closed up to keep everything nice and tidy. So we just get this, the corners are kind of tough, and we gotta put this on the existing area. So the first thing you wanna do is get these two tabs on the outside. Watch this wire and pop it into place. There. That should seat with the inner lip inside. And then we take the existing clips and we pop them onto the corresponding holes. Everything's nice and tight. And we'll take these down, up, down, up. And then we got two hose clamps that we'll use flathead screwdriver to tighten once we get the rest of the pipes in place. So those are there. All right, now before we go any further, they gave us this little tube to prevent check engine light from turning on. This needs to be installed into the driver's side turbo on with the slashed end facing the turbo, so facing in. And we're gonna have to go deep inside the engine to get this one. So let's go up and down deep. This was kind of hard to figure out with the instructions, but right there is our turbo inlet, and there's a little silver clip. And if we take it, we lift it and pop it, move that hose out of the way, and then we take our plastic slash tube. See how it's slashed on one end? You want the slash side facing the turbo. And let's make sure it's facing the right way. There it is. Pop it in, drop it, and then replace the hose. And make sure it's locked in there with a click. There it is. All right, so now we're back in the garage here, and we're gonna start prepping up the pipes. First step is we wanna take this little extension wire and pop it right here on the sensor that we put in earlier on in the video. And then next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prep this crossover tube here that's gonna go between both pipes once everything's installed. And we'll put one hose clamp there, and eventually they'll kind of go in together to form a seal. So we'll prep with the other hose clamp there before we bring it over to the truck. So there's two of these here. One has a larger diameter, one has a smaller diameter. The larger diameter gets installed on the lower pipe on the truck. And we'll put one hose clamp at the bottom to hold everything tight. And we'll give it a little bit of snug. There's a bunch more junk in the way. Tighten that down. There's one. Perfect. All right, and we got our other little coupling, and it's pretty tough to put on here. It's really tight fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a little bit of WD-40 on the inside, like that, just a little bit. And use my finger to kind of make it all fit. And we wanna be careful not to get anything inside the pipe here. Just use it on the outside, and then use a little bit of muscle, fight it on there. There we go. Take another hose clamp, pop this over there, loosen it a bit, get it to seat properly. You don't want anything popping off on the highway. There we go. Cinch that down with a little bit of ratchet. These ratchets I'm using are 8 mil. All right, so with those on there a little bit snug, take 2 more. And we'll just get these in place before putting on the pipes. You have them facing the same way. Look better. 1. There's 2. All right. So the shorter one with the logo on the outside gets installed here. I'll pop that in nice and tight. And then down and low there. I'll start snugging everything up with the ratchet. Use the screwdriver to get it a little bit snug and then tighten it down with the ratchet. Again, probably gonna want to go back after driving a couple miles on this. Make sure these are all still tight, nothing rattled loose. So now we can coming off across on the freeway. And this bad boy down. Nice and snug. All right, so that's pipe 1, the outer pipe. Now let's pop in the inner pipe. That's seated. We also don't want to forget the crossover. There. Marry everything together. All right. Move these hose clamps over. Tighten that crossover. Snug that down. And snug this down. Ooh, slipped off. Let's go ahead and back it up. Put it in too tight or not tight enough here. Gotta make sure these are seated properly. There we go. Slipped out. All right, and then the last step, just go ahead and take the old plug and the new extended plug, snap it back into place, and then you probably want to get some zip ties and zip tie that over. I'll do that when we're cleaning up. And yeah, there we have it.
So wrapping things up here, gang, if you are after, I think, one of the coolest looking aftermarket systems on the site that will also provide your EcoBoost with more power and more sound, then you have to check out the AFE Magnum Force Stage 2 Pro 5R system here today, right here at AmericanTrucks.com.